Hey guys, ExJW is still fading here. I wanted to go over some of the things that I saw from other people posting videos about the IICSA meetings. And I thought it was kind of interesting, a few of the questions that they asked, and also how one person in particular, I believe his name was Paul Gillis, how he responded. And you can actually see some of those videos too. I'll post them in the description. I believe one or two of them is from Kim and Mikey. And the other one, which is a very long video, it's a video by John Cedars or Lloyd Evans. And that one was actually live. And he had some people come on that aren't able to even disclose their name or show their face on camera. So, and they gave out some interesting information along with that. But the first video I want to talk about was actually posted by Kim and Mikey. And they just took a snippet of what I guess some of the things that were said throughout the meeting. So I wrote some of them down too, because I wanted to kind of get it word for word, some of the questions that they asked and how the person responded, which in this case, it's Paul Gillis. So I believe the person asking the questions was Ivor Frank, or Ivor. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But I think he did a pretty good job asking a few questions. And by Paul Gillis's answers, it kind of just shows you the tactics Watchtower uses to try to avoid certain questions. They're not really keen on trying to answer the truth or answer the questions as truthfully as possible, because if he was trying to answer these questions truthfully, he would have just said it outright. So going into the questions, Ivor Frank asks Paul Gillis, "Do you know of someone who holds the position of records manager?" Paul then responds, "We have records management guidelines and each department has their own records management." So then Ivor Frank asks him, "Do you know Sean Bartlett?" Paul says, "Yes, I do." Being in the organization, if you know somebody, like let's say a brother, you'll most likely know what position they kind of hold. I was only in one congregation. However, if you mentioned a brother's name from a congregation that's like, I don't know, one town over from me, there's a very high chance that I would know what that brother's position was. If he was an elder, if he was a ministerial servant, you would know that if you were really high up, or at least you were involved with a lot of the things that were going on. I know for me, one of the things I had to do was call up elders and let them know that, hey, you have a talk this week. So you would have a whole list of all the elders and also of the ministerial servants sometimes, of who's able to give talks. So you can see the list of all the names, and many times you would just know the names off the top of your head. You'd be like, oh, okay, this person's an elder. So Paul Gillis being in this position and also not knowing Sean Bartlett was basically an elder or a records manager, it's just kind of a little weird, because Paul Gillis obviously is at a position, a very high position, that you would think that he would know what his position really is, Sean Bartlett. And if you're close to them, which I'm sure Paul Gillis was to Sean Bartlett, at least to an extent to where he would know who Sean Bartlett is, because he admits that he does know who Sean Bartlett is, then he would also know what position Sean Bartlett has. So that was just avoiding of a question. So Ivor Frank starts to ask Paul Gillis, did Sean Bartlett give a seminar to elders in 2017? Paul responds and says, yes, he did. Ivor Frank asks Paul, did you attend that meeting? He knows he attended that meeting. Ivor Frank then asks him, do you remember what the purpose of the seminar was? Paul Gillis says, to make sure that our record keeping was up to date with legislation and that we weren't keeping unnecessary documents. Ivor Frank asks, do you mean that he advised you to get rid of some documents? Paul responds, we have to make sure documents adhere to data protection issues, so yes. And I believe there's a thing that happened in the UK where they don't want people's information being written down, and I think this even affected how they did service over there. They couldn't write down someone's name and their address on the paper and keep it like a document. That was, I guess, deemed, illegal over there, so they no longer could keep not-at-home slips. Ivor Frank then asks, did he, through the course of the seminar, that the reason for getting rid of the documents was because Or did he say that the reason for getting rid of the documents was because Satan was coming after you? Satan in the form of the legal process? Paul responds, his comments were directed to data protection issues. I don't remember any comments about Satan particularly, which is very odd because the way the organization is set up is they'll talk about something, and it could be the furthest thing from God, it could be anything, but they'll always try to find a way to involve God or the Bible into it. So by him saying that there is no talks about Satan or system of things or anything like that, to say that he doesn't remember, I don't think I believe you on that one. And the funny thing about it is, even if I said I didn't believe him, he would just say, well, I mean, I just don't remember. And I'd say, okay, well, that's fine. I'll give you that. Well, maybe this could jog your memory, because there's actually a video, if you watch the Kim and Mikey video, that shows Sean Bartlett, I believe that's him, giving the seminar and saying that exact same sentence, that Satan's system is coming against the Watchtower legally. He just said it flat out. So you can't really lie about that one. I mean, it doesn't matter if you don't remember or not. I mean, he did say it, so it is what it is. It also seems kind of weird when you're looking at the organization and how Satan is coming after them. I mean, Satan apparently is a part of the legal process, and they're coming after the witnesses. Yet the witnesses are the ones that are hiding pedophiles. Now, Satan probably likes the fact that they have those pedophiles in their organization. So is Satan trying to attack himself? So if we're looking at it from Sean Bartlett's perspective, he says that Satan is the one who's coming after Jehovah's Witnesses. So since Satan is coming after Jehovah's Witnesses, and apparently Satan is coming after Jehovah's Witnesses because of the pedophiles that they're shielding in their organization, is Satan essentially attacking himself? It just seems kind of weird to me. It's like he completely disregards the fact that the organization hides pedophiles. I don't really think that Satan would be attacking himself like that. It seems kind of odd to me. I just think that Jehovah's Witnesses are doing something wrong and they need to be held accountable for it. I think that's actually what it is. But they don't look at it that way. They don't take accountability for the things that are going on in their organization. You look at any business out here, and if somebody, a CEO, higher up, or anybody who's, I guess, just like a regular worker for that business, they represent them. If somebody does something wrong while at that place of work, the business has to try to save face because that person represents them. The way Watchtower handles it is they have a whole bunch of members. Some of the members might be pedophiles, but they don't take accountability for it. They literally just say, oh, no, we don't have any pedophiles here, not in our organization. And they turn a blind eye to it. And you're just sitting there like, well, you do, and there's even records of it. We know you keep records of it, we just don't have access to the records. And if you guys didn't have any problems with pedophilia, then why are these court cases constantly coming up? Why is someone constantly saying, hey, yeah, there's a problem, we probably should address this? And every single time that there's another problem or another situation, another case that has to go to the court, they completely just say, nope, we don't have a problem with pedophilia. We just going to keep on going on. At that point, they really don't care. This was even brought up by, this person goes by the name of PR839 to save like their identity. But they said that one thing they noticed when watching the videos about the cases that are going on for the IICSA cases, or just like the meetings and stuff they're having on Zoom, while they're watching those meetings, they said that Paul Gillis had no sense. It didn't look like he had any sense of compassion on his face. And I watched the video at least like 2 or 3 times, and I gotta say the same thing. It really didn't look like he was too, I guess, concerned about trying to solve the problem, which is what a majority of people want. They already don't like the watchtower, but really at the same time, it's like, well, perhaps if we solve this problem, it would be better so that no other child has to go through the same pain and suffering that I did. You know what I mean? They already don't like the watchtower, but let's try to solve the problem, because otherwise it's going to keep happening over and over again. And if you can solve it, then solve it. It just seems like they don't want to solve the problem. It seems like they don't have any compassion. They even compared Paul Gillis's face to Geoffrey Jackson's face when he was doing he was at the Australian Royal Commission and trying to defend Watchtower. Both of them just showed the same amount of compassion, which was absolutely none. They didn't look like they were really concerned about anything. They just wanted to get the case settled. They wanted to get out of court people that have been harmed by it. That's not their concern at all. They really just want to save their own face, save the Watchtower's face. That's it. I just wanted to touch on that subject really briefly. I saw the videos and thought that maybe it'd be a good idea to make something about this, just to bring some more awareness, probably keep that, the search engine optimization going for it. So if anybody looks for anything involving Jehovah's Witnesses, perhaps all these videos about the child sexual abuse cases pops up, and then if they're curious, they'll click on the video and try to find out more information, which I'm sure a lot of people are like that. That's exactly why Google's such a great tool. You legit can Google anything to find out if it's true. You gotta obviously be careful when you're on the internet. Some of it might be true, some of it might not be. But if you do enough digging, you can find out what the true stuff is and what the false stuff is. So at the end of all my videos, I was planning on doing like a Q&A. If I see some questions that I feel like I can answer, or I feel comfortable with answering them, I'm going to go ahead and answer them. So if you leave them in the comment section, I'll get to if I can. So to go on to the first question, Sam A asks, any advice on how to wake up a friend? And this one's actually kind of hard. I wish I could give some good advice on how to wake up your friends. And to be quite honest with you, if I had some good advice, I probably would be doing the same thing right now if I could wake up some of my friends. But really, to wake up your friends, it would require a lot of work. I mean, I know in my case, when I first was trying to wake up, it took me some time to process all the information and to come to terms that a lot of the things that I was learning for basically my whole life just wasn't true. So I can only imagine you telling that to your friends. It would probably be the exact same thing. It would take some time. And it might not even be like a few months. For me, it was a few months. But for other people, it might be a couple years. It all just depends on the individual. There isn't any advice I could really give on how to wake up a friend. I feel like each person has to get to that place themselves. They have to start questioning something. They have to start seeing something, or have some type of traumatic event in their life to where they say to themselves, something's not right. A lot of times people get disfellowshipped, and then they start looking into information because they felt that the reason why they were disfellowshipped was wrong. And then they find out more information as to why the organization isn't the true organization. And then that's it for them. Other people stumble across videos like this one, and they'll ask a few questions, and they'll start wondering something, and then they'll just go about their day. They might still, be a witness for a few months. They'll still go out in service. They'll still go to meetings. And then after a while, they'll just kind of, oh man, this isn't true, because they're starting to see little small things appear, and they'll be more keen to those things. And as they start seeing it constantly, every single day that they're doing stuff in the organization, they just eventually say, you know what, it's not for me. I think to an extent that kind of happened to me too. I knew that there's some things that were just kind of wrong, but I always put up with it because I always use the excuse that, we're all imperfect. But even that excuse didn't sit well with me, but I always just tried to work with it because, it was all I knew. That was basically it, plain and simple. It was all I knew, so I worked with it. But now I know better. And plus, I'm older now. I'm able to kind of be my own person. I think that also plays a role in it too. When you get a little bit older and you're able to freely think for yourself and make decisions for yourself, that's when a lot of people end up doing their own thing and leaving. Thank you for your question, by the way, Sam A. The next question comes from Groovy, and they ask, how is my family reacting to me fading? Is there pressure to go out in service? I also assume you probably want to ask, how is there pressure to go back to the meetings? So my family, a few times I'll be asked to go to like the meetings, the Zoom meetings. I was asked that a little bit when the Zoom meetings first started. I didn't go to any of them. I haven't been to any Zoom meetings. They also asked me if I could go to the convention with them, the online convention where they did the videos and stuff. I did not go to the convention. I watched all the convention videos, but I did it on my time. I didn't sit down with them and watch it. So I completely just, did away with all that. But my family hasn't been reacting too negatively to it. I think it's because they know how I feel about everything that's going on in the organization. I told them practically everything, all the things that the organization lied about and why I feel the way I feel. So they know exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. They don't know I'm making these videos, but they know why I'm not going to the meetings and why I'm not going out in service. And I think deep in their heart, they probably agree with me, but because it's all they've known, well, my siblings, and then also it's because my mom has very deep ties with it. She's been in for 30 plus years. She just feels that, this is everything. This is it. It has to be true. And I can't really falter for that. It's hard to get out of the organization, especially if you've been in that long and there's not much else that you have really going for you. Because from my mother, her life, she didn't really have a lot of people to hang around with. She didn't have too many friends. So having all these people here, it's like her social network. If she didn't have that, she would not really have anybody. So I think she needs the organization just to interact socially, or else she would not have any interactions with anyone. Is there pressure to go out in service? Actually, yes, there was pressure, but it wasn't from my family. It was from other people that I, had in my congregation. Some of my friends would text me and say, hey, we're doing a Zoom service meeting for letter writing. Did you want to come? And I wouldn't respond. And then they text me again like the next week, Saturday or whatever time they do service. And they'd ask me again and I wouldn't respond. And then they would try to get me with like a really random like question about just anybody else in the congregation, or just to try to get me to respond. That's basically what they were trying to do. But I wouldn't respond to that either. And then one time they actually tried to legit just tell me, hey, write a letter to this person, thanks. And I was just like, I'm not writing a letter to anybody. I don't know what they're trying to. That was really funny. When they did that to me, I thought that was hilarious. Because what do you think I was going to do? You really think I was just going to write a letter after you just demanded me to, and I didn't respond to you all those other times? It was like 3 or 4 weeks that went by until they just said, hey, write a letter. I'm not just going to write a letter. Who do you think I don't know. It was just so funny, man. That was really funny. I laughed out loud when I read that. But they try to do that. So yeah, that was a little bit of pressure, but I mean, with the, you know, the circumstances that we're in worldwide right now, it's very easy for me to kind of fade, for me personally. I know a lot of other people, I've heard some people have been having a harder time fading because some congregations are very like, hey, who's on Zoom and who isn't, and we're going to write it down, and everyone has to have their camera on and stuff like that. But for me, I haven't heard really anything because I started fading before Zoom. So they just don't really bother me with that. But they'll still text me from time to time. So yeah, that's basically the only type of pressure I've really been getting. But really the pressure isn't that bad for me. Yeah, it's just not that bad for me. So thank you, Groovy, for your question. The next question, and this is the final question. So forgive me if I didn't see your question, but if I didn't answer your question, just go ahead and shoot it down in this video. I think that'd be the best thing to do. Carbon273 asks, what are my thoughts on the Jehovah's Witnesses removing Holy Spirit from their baptism questions? So this is a pretty good question. I feel that that's really, it seems almost hypocritical for them to do that, because they always try to include God, Jesus, or Holy Spirit in everything that you do in your life. So I would assume that being baptized should also include the Holy Spirit. It just seems like it would be a no-brainer. I don't know why they took it out. I really don't know the information behind that. I feel that it's a bad idea to do that because it just makes you look like more of a company rather than a religious organization. But that's just my opinion. As the time goes on, Jehovah's Witnesses they're going to have to show their true face, their true colors. They can't really hide it for very long. People are starting to see through all those cracks. So eventually they're going to have to just change things so drastically to where it's not even the same type of organization and people are going to leave, or they show their true colors and then people are going to leave because of that. I mean, the end result to me, I feel in a couple of years, a lot of people are going to make their exodus from the organization. I really appreciate you guys stopping by and checking out the video. Definitely send me some more questions my way. If I can answer it, I'll answer it. But obviously, if I don't feel comfortable answering a question because, you know, I'm still fading, as my name implies, I can't really, I probably can't answer it. And I think I'll let you know too. I'll let you know in the comment section. I'll just say that's classified or something. But I don't want to give out too much information. I feel like I gave out quite a bit already. But all the stuff I've ever said, I don't think really gave away who I am. And even if it did, I think I said this in the first video too, or one of my early videos, I'd be very surprised if somebody who already wasn't on their way out would watch this video and then say, oh, I have to report this person. It'd be very weird to me. I feel like they probably would be more inclined to text me and say, hey, I saw your video. I didn't know you felt the same way. Let's hang out. And hopefully that's what would happen. But I mean, maybe I'm just thinking too positively about it. And even then, I probably wouldn't fall for that. I would not fall for that. I think if that were to happen, I probably still wouldn't go out with that person. I probably would just ask them, what do you talk about? What videos? Because it could also be a trap. Maybe I'm just paranoid. But really, I don't really think I have too much trust in a lot of the people that I know in the organization, because I feel that they might end up trying to, hey man, I know I saw your videos, I know how you feel about it, but you got to keep coming back because Jehovah loves you. Stuff like that. That's most likely, I would expect that more so than, hey, I feel the same way, let's hang out. But yeah. But thanks again for stopping by in the video. Hope you guys have a good one, and take care.